What's going on, YouTube? How's everybody doing? I hope everybody's doing great. I missed you guys. Hey, listen, man. I'm I don't think I've ever been more excited than I am right now to do this comparison right here, guys. Um, it's just exciting. It feels good. It's fun. I'm loving it, and I love sharing my experience with you guys. Um, we got a lot to talk about too because there's so many different ways to dial in these TVs, and it's all about personal preference. You can try to make them as close as you possibly can to each other, but they are still different at the same time. And it's crazy because when you look at these three TVs at first glance, they look exactly the same. They don't look like there's any difference from each other, but I can tell you when you sit down and just spend multiple hours and just kind of look and you look and you look, you will find major differences on these TVs. And, you know, there are definitely more pros than cons to each of them. And when it comes to comparing the three against each other, it's really difficult to pick which one you would prefer because they're so close. It really does come down to these like hairline fractures of nitpicking and just certain things that you personally would prefer over the other. Um, so it's always going to be everyone's individual opinion on what they like or what they would choose over the other. But guys, whew, let me tell you, man, it is just extremely exciting to talk about these three TVs. I'm just ecstatic. I love it, and let me just get right into it. Um, all the way to the left, we have the Samsung S95C in the 77 inch. In the middle, we have the Sony A95L, the 2023 King of TVs, also in the 77 inch. And all the way to the right, we have the LG G3 in the 77 inch. The votes are in. You guys have voted for me to run a 4K gaming comparison all side by side with each other. I picked Ratchet and Clank, as you can see. I feel like this game would be the best first comparison that I do just because of the colors. And I know that, most of us are really drawn to color and what these two TVs or three TVs, how they all stack up against each other when it comes to color and things like that. So I'm gonna get into it. I'm gonna get into it all. You guys got to bear with me, and um, you guys, this is gonna be a little bit of a video here. So if you want to skip along and things like that, you can go ahead and do so. But let's get into it. So now I will tell you guys right off the bat, again, when you're looking at these TVs, it's really hard to kind of tell which one is which. They are just all so, they're just fantastic. Um, Now, I will say that when it comes to color, I gotta give it to the S95C. It's just their colors are definitely tend to be more on the saturated side um, compared to the LG G3 and the A95L. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it always wins because it doesn't. A lot of times, like for example, I was playing God of War Ragnarok, and in God of War Ragnarok, I have Kratos wearing the dragon armor, which is all red. And although the reds really pop very nicely on a QD OLED, specifically for the S95C, I find it to just be a little overwhelming or a little too much. So even when you try to tone that color down, The problem is, yeah, you're toning the red down, but you're also toning down the rest of the colors in the background, which it really starts to look flat. So that's the problem. And I think a lot of it has to do specifically for the S95C is that you just can't fine tune it like you can on either the A95L or the G3. Because when you get into the menus on the G3 and the A95L, I mean, you can fine tune these bad boys like there's no tomorrow. I mean, you can really, really get into dialing down your settings, and I'm talking like, especially for the G3, the black level dialing is just superb. I like it a lot. You can do overall black levels. You can fine tune your black levels. You can go and change your black stabilizer. I mean, there's so many different things you can do. And then you got your white stabilizer as well. So, you know, the LG G3 to me, I believe that you can fine tune it more than you can with the A95L. But with the A95L, you have certain settings and features that actually make the picture look more clear and more detailed. So I would say that the A95L, and again, you know, I still have to play with the TV. I just got it, remember that, guys. But out of my personal experience so far, the A95L is like the overall best out of the three as far as clarity goes, detail, and overall picture quality. I have to say that. Now, as far as motion goes, you know, I do think it really is a tie, um, especially in 4K gaming between the A95L and the G3. I don't really see that much of a difference. Sometimes I do see some judder in slow panning still on the A95L. No matter how you set that, I just really have a feeling it does have to do with that instant pixel response, just being phenomenal, you know, paired up with the XR processor. But again, those things are so minor, because the processing is just so phenomenal on the Sony A95L. It is to me, especially compared to last year in the A95K, they've already stepped it up, and compared to last year as far as that motion processing goes, which I'm happy about. So motion is kind of like a little bit of a big thing for me. I'm a little sensitive to it, so I notice it more than a lot of people. Um, so yeah, so just to let you guys know, that's kind of what my first impression is when it comes to these three beautiful TVs here. You're gonna notice that when it comes to the colors, um, the QD OLED just, you know, has the colors down. So like right here, as a matter of fact, if you look at kind of like that purple halo right here that I'm stepping on, um, you're gonna notice that in the A95L, you're going to have just a more color vibrancy over both the G3 on the right and the S95C all the way to the left. But that's not always the case. So, but a lot of times it is. And the best part about the A95L, guys, is that when you're looking at this color, right? And you can see how nice it looks. You know, it's still maintaining that detail as well. So that's just part of what Sony specializes in. It's just not an easy thing to do with these TVs, with these higher end TVs. And I do feel like the A95L definitely has really you know, improved on that. Or, you know, I know they've always been known for that, but I just feel like they have improved on that even more compared to last year's A95K. They really have done quite the job here. Um, the picture is definitely more clear in the A95L out of all three of the TVs. The colors are, although not oversaturated, but they're still vibrant without looking too ridiculous. And, that's, I just feel like that's something really hard to accomplish. So, sometimes when you put the color up just a couple of steps on, let's say, the S95C, it automatically just starts to kind of look oversaturated. So, you know, the the way you can fine tune the A95L is just, right down to the T. And I got to say that LG G3 is right there neck and neck with it, the way you can fine tune it. But I would say because it's a WOLED, it does lack that color vibrancy again because it's a traditional WOLED. The MLA technology has definitely improved the brightness, but as you can see, they look very, very similar. Now, you can tone things down, obviously. I believe I have, contrast enhancer on and things like that. And I will show you a little bit of my settings just to run some comparisons. But I just want to kind of show you guys. I'm going to walk around and just kind of show you, things that I see, things that I notice. Now, let me ask you guys, have you ever played Ratchet and Clank in any of these TVs? Please let me know because I would really like to know what you guys think. So, another thing that I wanted to bring up is that when you're playing this game, you have to pay attention to the details. So, a lot of times people are more worried about color and a bunch of other, different things like how bright the TV can get, but which is understandable. But you also have to consider the fact that details are really important in games now. Games are really designed to have a lot more detail, a lot more information through the TVs and to provide that information through the TVs. So you have to have a TV that will be able to project that onto your eyes. Anyways, now when I speak about details, we're gonna get into that, but here I just want to show you guys and get in this area here where there's a lot of color. So you're going to notice that they look very, very similar at this moment right now. But I will tell you that the A95L definitely has the overall clearest picture without losing detail. Now, when it comes to probably the most saturated looking color, I would probably say that the S95C definitely looks the most saturated in this particular image right here. So that is probably something that you would have to really judge on your own to see what you prefer. I would say the best happy medium right now for me is definitely the A95L. I mean, it just looks stunning. They did a phenomenal job. Something that I was hoping this TV would offer, and it just delivers and some. But if you look at the green right now, you can see that the S95C and the A95L are very close, but there's definitely more shades of green in the A95L than there is in the S95C. Like you can tell there's more shade, there's more detail, things like that. Now, the G3, although it's probably the most washed out looking one at the moment, it still maintains a lot of detail as well. So you really can't just exclude the G3. I mean, the G3 looks phenomenal. And again, that 3D pop just gives it an expression that really is next level for the G3. Now, what I will say about the A95L is that this time around, I would say I've never, like, for example, the A95K, I never really had that 3D pop sensation about the TV. Um, but the A95L is right up there with it as far as the 3D pop goes with the G3. Now, the S95C still does look flat to me when it comes to that 3D pop, but again, you know, it's just one of those things where it does have its other advantages over. And I would say probably the best advantage that the S95C has is definitely the color saturation. So if you're into the color saturation, that's what you're probably going to want to go with, is the S95C. All right. So yes, so guys, let me just show you some of the settings and just talk about some of the settings that we have going on here. I'm going to start with the S95C, right? I'm sorry, let me just go here. I'm going to go right into game mode settings. You're going to see that game HDR is on basic. Dynamic equalizer is on 0. And then we're going to go ahead, go to expert settings. I got brightness on high, contrast on high, sharpness all the way down, color down to 21, and it's still saturated. Contrast enhancer is on low. If you turn that off, you can see the TV dims darker than every other TV, even the G3. Now I keep that on low just because I feel like it definitely gives it a little bit more picture pop without losing too many details or losing blacks, not raising blacks. Now HDR tone mapping is on static. Now this right here, color tone on, I've found that I do really like it on warm 1 over warm 2. I just feel like even though warm 2 kind of gives it more of an orange look to it, a little too warm. Not the biggest fan of that. I just kind of like it right there where it's still warm but not like an orange warm. Of course, that stays locked in for your gamma ST2084 is on 0, and then shadow detail I put down to about -2. I custom the color space just to BT 2020. Peak brightness is on high. All right, now, and that's the image that you get right there. Now and again, just to let you guys know, I'm still playing around with the A95L just to see what I prefer, but I'm going to get to the settings that I have as of now. So just bear with me when it comes to the A95L. I'm still kind of learning in my own way. So we're going to go right down to picture. As you can see, we're on RTS for game. We're going to go down to brightness. Brightness is on max. You know, I did play with the brightness and brought HDR brightness down some. I did bring it down to about like 37 and 40. I do like it around there, but it does depend on what game I'm playing. So I decided to just kind of keep it up just so you guys can see what it looks like maxed out. Contrast, I actually usually keep it around 75 to 80, but I just decided to just kind of put that up just so you guys can see how much that contrast or HDR contrast looks. Gamma, of course, I'm going to keep at 0. Now, HDR tone mapping, I keep on brightness preferred. Gradation preferred is actually beautiful too, but I kept it on brightness preferred just so you can see how bright the HDR can get for the tone mapping. Black levels. So black levels I played around with a lot. Um, I love picture black level for gaming in this TV in the A95L. It reminds me a lot of the G3 overall black level for gaming, just because you can tune it very similarly. And I do keep it between like 47 and 50, but I'm going to keep it back down. I really like the way it looks on 47. Um, but again, I'm still kind of learning, so it really does depend on the games that I'm playing. But black equalizer, I just turned off. I was not a fan of it at all. When you turn it on, it just starts to blow out the picture and wash it out, so I turn it off. Peak luminance, I'm going to keep on high. I haven't played around with that too much, but I noticed on high, I really like the way it looks so far. Then we're going to go to color. Now, color, I'm still learning. I've noticed that there's a big difference, a big dip. I don't know if you guys can see it between 53 and 55. So I feel like 53 right now, I really like a lot. It looks really good. But once I start going to like 55 and higher, it starts kind of making the colors look a little too saturated. But again, I have to really play with it. It depends on the content that you're actually, playing, or the game that you're actually playing as well. Um, but yeah, I noticed the difference more on games like God of War Ragnarok, or games that have more of like natural color to it. I noticed the difference change there. Hue, I'm gonna also keep at 0. Now, live color is awesome. Um, I'm a fan of live color because it kind of just um, almost reminds me of like expression enhancer, or not so much expression enhancer, but it just reminds me of another feature that I'm forgetting right now on the G3 that really brightens up the picture when needed. Um, and then color temperature, I keep on warm. Again, there is expert 1 and then expert 2. I feel like those are close to like warm 1, warm 2, or uh, warm 2s. But warm, just normal warm, I really do like a lot in the A95L. Still makes that picture really pop and looks really good in my personal opinion. Um, Warm 1 also looks really good too, or I'm sorry, Expert 1. But I just feel like there is definitely more color pop in standard normal. Now, advanced color adjustments. I mean, I really just kind of keep that kind of all the same as it was out the box. Clarity, as you can see, I keep my sharpness down. I'm really not a fan of that, adjusting sharpness that much. Reality creation is pretty cool. I like it a lot. Now, what I like about reality creation is Sony's processor does a really, really good job of when it's on, um, even on auto, which I think most people would keep it on. I put it manually up to 50 just to see what it looks like with details. But I will say, I love the way it looks. It doesn't have that where almost like where it looks like there's too many artifacts in the picture when you put it up. It actually makes it look more detailed. So reality creation is a great feature that I always recommend people use and take advantage of if you have a Sony. I love it. It's just awesome. Um, Now, smooth gradation I do have on high, but you can keep that on low, whatever you prefer. When it comes down to your motion, as you can see in HDR gaming, those features are shut off for you and disabled. You cannot access them. So yeah, so that's pretty much where I'm at right there. Now, let's go to the G3. All right, so we're going to go to Game Optimizer first. As you can see, we are in RPG. Light or reduced blue light is off. I'm going to go all the way down first just to show you guys something. Fine-tune dark areas is on 0. This is another feature that I really like out of the G3, is how you can fine-tune dark areas. We're going to go back up and we're going to go to picture. All right, so I don't know why this changed on me a little bit, but actually black stabilizer, I really do keep between 9 and 10, depending on the game that I play. Sometimes I bring it down even more. But then, of course, white, I really do keep between 10 and 11, to be honest with you. I will keep it at 10 for this particular. Contrast, as you can see right there, is on 100, and then you have the game black level right here, just like the A95L is on 47. Adjust game sharpness, as you can tell, is all the way down. And color depth, I have on 60 just to try to get to the color that these A95L and the Sony, the Sony A95L and the Samsung S95C are producing. And as you can see, it still really can't get to that level, but it looks really close and I like it a lot. And just to let you guys know, just because it's not as vibrant as the S95C or the A95L doesn't always necessarily mean that it's better. I have all three of these TVs and it's just ever so slightly where you see that much of a difference, especially in darker shades. Now, in bright colors and vibrant colors, yeah, you're going to notice a clear difference, but it's not all the time. So that's all I'm just trying to say, guys. It is just the way it is. So now we're going to go back to all settings. We're going to go to brightness. As you're going to see, that's on 100. Dynamic tone mapping is on. Now, let's turn it off. You can see the image overall gets darker, and then HCIG. Right now, at the moment, there's no difference, but HCIG is probably the most recommended setting for tone mapping. I do like it a lot. The tone mapping is phenomenal, especially with specular highlights, but where you still get a lot of details and dynamic range at the same time without clipping. So I really do like HCIG. The only problem is a lot of times it does make the image look more dim and dark, kind of loses that color pop in a lot of scenes. But for brightness purposes, I kept it on dynamic so you guys can see how close it can get to the other two TVs. Expression enhancer, I have on brightness. Detail is really nice too. I do like detail with dynamic tone mapping on. I'm a fan of that, especially when you're playing games like God of War Ragnarok. So either way, I prefer either one. Expression enhancer off doesn't really have a strong impact, but again, it really does depend on the game. But I do like brightness. So all right, so that's pretty much about it there. And then you're going to go down, obviously, to color. As you can see, I have it on auto detect. I do like, basically, I feel like when it's on auto detect, it kind of defaults to dynamic. So I just keep it on auto detect. And then, of course, you can fine tune, which I really, really like for both the A95L and the G3. All right, so now we're gonna go down to super resolution. So that's the other feature I was talking about. So this feature to me is like almost like reality creation in a sense, because the super resolution, basically you can turn that up and I really don't feel like you're losing in any detail, and it doesn't have that effect where you're getting those weird artifacts and things like that. I think LG does a phenomenal job with this feature right here. So I kept that on. But yeah, so those are my settings right there. Again, I'm still kind of playing around, guys. I'm still trying to really figure the TVs out and which one I like. But Overall, the Samsung S95C out of all three TVs will definitely get the brightest, will definitely get the most saturated, but it has its quirks. I mean, you're not getting a lot or as much detail on the S95C as you are with the A95L or the G3. I would say that when it comes down to these TVs, again, we're going to go back to this section here. When it comes to colors, you're going to notice that the S95C definitely has the brighter, more vibrant colors. But, it can look a little blown out in certain areas. And the A95L would probably be the one where it still gives you those nice, vibrant colors without looking blown out. It's still, the clarity is terrific. And then, of course, the G3 looks great as well. You're not going to get as much color, but you're not going to lose that detail either. So, everyone, whatever you guys prefer, that's kind of what I'm really seeing at the moment right now. So, we're going to go ahead and back out. We're going to go into a different game. And then I'm just going to put on Ragnarok. And I want you to see what I see. Now, what I'm noticing the most when it comes to this particular game, and I can't wait to show you guys, is the details. So, as you guys know, I use Ragnarok, God of War Ragnarok, as a reference when it comes to these TVs because it's a very detailed game, and you're going to see what I mean in a second. But I will say that when you're playing this game, you're not really going to notice that much of a difference until you really look close. All right, so this, actually, hold on. This scene this area right here, I'm gonna hit that marker right there. You see that marker? Let me turn it off. This area right here is the part that I'm talking about. So this is where it's a good example of detail. Now, the funny part is that last year, this year, when I compared the G3 to the A95K, the G3 definitely in at least what I was seeing was that it had more detail. But now the A95L is the one with the more detail. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do a close-up here, guys, so you can see for yourself. But so this area that I'm talking about right here I was just kind of staring at for at least a good 5-10 minutes up close, like I'm doing now with you guys on the camera. So as you can see, it has a lot of detail, right? Now we're going to skip to the S95C. You can see that detail is kind of lost. And there's no real way you can actually tune the detail in the S95C, which is a little aggravating. I wish there was, because I would think that in a lot of situations like this, the S95C might win overall. But then you go to the A95L, and look at that. The clarity and the detail is just freaking amazing. Look at that. Same area right there. All right. So here, I'll do it again. LG G3. A95L. and S95C. Now again, you can tone at least the brightness down, maybe get some of that detail back on the S95C, but then you're going to lose that color pop as well. There's no real good way to fine tune those things when it comes to the S95C. So yeah, the S95C definitely has its pros and cons, or pros over the other TVs. But again, I just wish that you can fine tune it more through the settings, and you can't. So now we're going to walk around. You see the picture still looks very similar. We're going to go ahead and jump into a different part that I like to always use as an example. All right, so Cinder's house is a nice area to do these samples. We're going to go ahead, enter the realm. All right, guys, so here we go. So I loved using this as an example because what I noticed the most when it comes to this scene right here is 3D pop, is the way the picture just stands out. Look at that, guys. Look at the details on her armor. I mean, it is just something else. Now, what I really think that is reality creation kicking in on the A95L, because you can see every little fine detail on that armor, on that gold armor right there. It is just ridiculous. I've never thought that I would see detail like that in my entire life. So this is what you're spending that extra money on right here. And look, guys, let's raise it up. Look at her hair, Freya's hair on the A95L. Look how detailed it is, and look how detailed it is on a G3 all the way to the right. See how like it still looks defined? Like you can actually see the different colors of strands in her hair. On the S95C, it looks good, don't get me wrong, but it looks more flat. It doesn't have that 3D pop. It just looks a little less detailed. Like you can't see the fine details in the armor. You know, the colors are nice, but the colors are also phenomenal on both the A95L and the G3. But the details, though, and this is why I like to bring this game up as an example, because people don't recognize these fine details. The details within the details is what the A95L is bringing out along with the G3. But the A95L does do it better because being that it's a QD OLED, which has that really nice color vibrancy or color pop, it also does a really good job of bringing out the details too. So there you go. Now I still have some testing to do, like as far as motion and everything goes. So far, I think that the A95L compared to the A95K is way better in the motion. They definitely have improved beyond last year with the motion. I mean, there is really no judder, no, even in slow panning, fast panning, and the way it handles the motion is just phenomenal. But you know, the S95C also handles it pretty well. I just do notice sometimes when you are fast panning and in an action, like when you're in action on the S95C, let's say there's a lot going on, it does tend to kind of either judder or flicker or just do something really weird on the S95C. when a lot of things are happening at the same time. That you never get at all on the G3. The G3 is a beast when it comes to that. It can handle a lot of information at the same time without failing. It is just flawless. And I'm going to have to believe that the Sony is just as equal or if not better. But guys, look at the detail on this right here. And you know what? What I want to talk about in this particular scene right here, the 3D pop on the A95L is there. So for you guys asking, does the A95L provide the same type of 3D pop that the G3 is known for? Yes, it absolutely does. And I would say maybe the G3 is slightly better, but slightly better than the A95L. Very slightly better. Barely noticeable, but you have to look really close. So that 3D pop on the G3, I don't think anyone will ever be able to beat ever. But there you go, guys. That's that sample right there. Now I want to do one more sample and I'll let you guys go. I always like this area here too because it has a lot of colors. All right, so let's go here. All right. All right, guys. So as you can clearly see, even with the colors toned down, just to try to not make it look as saturated on the S95C, sometimes it's still a little overkill. Like the blue just doesn't look as good as it does on the A95L or the G3. Now, to me personally, I like the way the blue looks more on the G3, but the A95L, there is more detail in the reflections. There flat out is. So, you know, I was always one to love the G3 for its detail, and I still am. Again, I'm trying to still learn how maybe I can try to get the G3 up better with details. But if you look really close, guys, I always like to use this as a sample. I mean, look at how all three of them look. They just look terrific. I would say that the A95L is kind of the one between the two. It's not oversaturated like the S95C, but it's not washed out like some people would think, or there's not as much color on the G3. It's right in the middle of them. And that's to me what people would recommend, or what people say is the best happy medium. Is probably the most clear, the best picture color wise. As far as clarity goes, I mean, in this particular scene right here, I kind of got to give it to the A95L again, but the G3 is right up there with it. The S95C, I think, is just struggling a little bit in detail. Some of the details look a little bit more fuzzy on the S95C compared to the A95L and the G3. So that's kind of my take on that. But yeah, I mean, what do you guys think? I'm just going to kind of cruise around here for a little bit. We're going to go right over here. I mean, look at the clarity out of these TVs. All of them are good. I mean, you're going to be happy with whatever you choose. It's really all about personal preference. Like, if you're more of, let's say, a, set it and forget it type of person, you just want it to just, you know, plug it and just let it roll, you're gonna pick the Samsung S95C. Um, if you're somebody who really prefers to, let's say, fine tune, um, you're gonna go with either the G3 or the Sony A95L. You can't go wrong with either one of them. But you know, if you just want that much more detail, you're probably gonna end up going with the A95L, and for all good reason. The A95L just has it, guys. It really does. I would never have thought I would say that. Like last year, I can tell you, you can see it in my videos. I just was not a fan of what the A95K was producing for the price that you had to pay. Now, this year, I feel like the money is there. It's worth it. You know, for the price of what the TV is and 77-inch, I really don't think it's much, because when you think about it and you compare it to, you know, let's say, you know, the G3 and other higher end TVs, well, you know, it's not that much more, and the price is right. It's just, it's right where it needs to be, is how I see it. So, um, you know, I just think that it's a good spot, and I think that you know, for somebody who either wants to be a purist and make it accurate, then you're probably going to get the best settings out of the A95L. But if you want to go the other completely direction, and if you're not into accuracy and you want to go color, you know, color vibrancy is what you want, then you can also do that with the A95L. So I think the A95L this year is definitely the best all-arounder, because you can certainly adjust all your settings the way you want it, and it's basically, it can do what the G3 is doing, and it can also do what the S95C can do as well. So it can do both. So it's the best of both worlds into one TV, and you know, that's exactly what I think you're looking for when it comes to your next purchase. Now, if you don't want to spend that kind of money and you want to get the most detail out of your TV without spending that much money, I would probably end up saying or recommending definitely go with the G3. The processor is flawless. You got the 3D pop. The colors still look phenomenal. You can't go wrong. Motion is just great. You know, and you can't, you know, you just can't go wrong. It's a tried and proven brand, reliable. The the build quality is phenomenal. These are all things that we will talk about in the future, but you know, the best all-arounder TV for the value is definitely going to be, in my personal opinion, the G3. The best TV overall that you will have to pay for, yeah, is going to be the A95L. But with that being said, look at what you're looking at. They are so close. It's going to come down to personal preference at that point. It's going to come down to whatever your financial parameters are. And, you know, it's just going to come down to how much of an enthusiast that you feel like being. Now, when it comes to other things that may be important to you, like sound quality, let me just tell you guys, I own these three TVs. The S95C and the G3 are lackluster in that department in the 77-inch space. I mean, I've heard better sound out of, you know, Vizio, put it that way. It's actually disgusting how they kind of I feel like they kind of did us dirty in the sense that you know, how can you make somebody pay what you're charging for a TV and then have that lackluster, mediocre sound? I mean, it is tinny. There is no bass to it. Now with the And that's the other thing about the A95L that it brings to the table that these two TVs don't, is the audio. The audio on this TV, guys, I mean, especially for a person like me who really can't have a sound bar, it is phenomenal. It is fantastic. Now, that is another thing that you have to consider when you purchase this. You're getting more for your money because of the sound. Um, the A95K last year also had a great sound system. Um, and that Surface Audio Plus, whatever you call it, where the sound comes out of the actual screen, it is definitely immersive. I haven't calibrated the sound yet or did the sound test where you get to where it analyzes your space and things like that, so it optimizes the sound quality. But I will tell you guys that even without that, doesn't even matter. It still sounds freaking like top, not like amazing, and um, it just makes you happier that you spent the money that you spent. You don't necessarily need to get a soundbar unless obviously you want to capitalize off of the already great sound quality. And the cool part is that with the Sony soundbars, if as long as it's compatible with the XR Sound or XR Bravia, whatever it's called, it you can use it and sync it to your TV, the soundbar, and get this, and you can use your built-in speakers and just use your soundbar as a center speaker, which is amazing. So I love that feature. I can't wait. I'm looking at soundbars right now just to have. Um, so it's kind of tough for me to actually have a soundbar in my living space because I have to respect my neighbors. But um, there might be times where I will use it and just enjoy it and take advantage of it, because it'll just give your ownership experience that much of an appreciation. And I can't wait for that. And I know other brands do the same thing. They all have their own marketing term for it. And but I just think that Sony does do it a little bit better, just because right out the box they're already giving you that value. And for them to do something like that, I mean, just goes to show how much more they care about how you spend your money. So I'm just appreciative of that. Sound quality to me is a big deal, whether it's in a car, whether it's on TV, whether it's on my headphones, whether it's in my earbuds. It has to be, I will spend the extra money just for better sound quality. That's how big of a person I am on sound quality. So, again, I'm really upset about that with LG. I'm really upset about that with Samsung. I really feel like they should have stepped it up, especially when you're paying such a premium on a TV. To really just lack on sound quality just goes to show you kind of can care less about what your customers are buying, in a sense. But Sony, you guys hit the mark this year. Thank you so much. Um, for what you offer and what you pay for is spot on. And I'm glad that their pricing got more competitive. So just think of it this way. In 2022, the A95K, when it first launched, was $4,000. And I know it's a lot less now than it was when it first came out. But now the A95L, which has improvements upon the A95K in the 65-inch space, is 3,500. So the price actually went down to be more competitive. So, and obviously, if you wait a little bit longer for the 65-inch, it will go on sale. I don't really think it's going to go any lower than $29.99 this year, but again, you never know. So, but that's my take on it, guys. I appreciate it. Sorry for the long and winded comparison. I will be doing more comparisons. Please let me know what you think in the comments, guys. I would really, really like to know. Try to keep them as respectful as possible. As you guys know, I am not a professional. I just share my experience with with these TVs, and I just hope that you guys will support that. And I'm learning as I go along too. So thank you so much, guys, for everything, and I can't wait to see you on the next one. Peace.